Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we are checking out Dreamcatcher's R.o.S.E Blue, which I know is an OST. I think it's for a video game, but I'm not entirely sure, so I guess we'll see what that impact that has on the music video when we get to it, but I'm assuming it's gonna be like Eclipse that I checked out, where it's maybe like half and half with Dreamcatcher and the project that it's an OST for. But that was all the way back at the beginning of my Dreamcatcher journey, so it feels a little bit like a full circle moment. But I'm excited to check this out, get a little bit of a breather in between other storyline things in their main discography. Maybe there's a very high chance that I will find something in the music video that I'm like, hey, wait a second. But I'm excited to see what this is going to be. So we'll of course check the song out first with the lyric video and then get to the MV afterwards. So let's just get into the song. All right, seeing 6 still makes me sad, but okay, let's see what they got for us. Ooh, those are big drums. Bring us in. Like those synths there too. Ooh, okay, I love how there's all these synths happening. I know with an OST there's a certain sound to it too. There's always a certain vibe to an OST, and I know that Dreamcatcher can do that super well, just the kind of music that they like to create. But Handong's voice there was beautiful. Sorry, why did I just say Handong? It's because I miss her, okay? It's the absence. Gahyun's great there. Love the blooming imagery too. I don't know how much of the lyrical content is going to be related to what is an OST for, but I like that we're like keeping this like blooming imagery throughout the 2 lines and like the adding color into like a plain existence and stuff. Anyway. Ooh, the bass here. Ooh, okay, I know we're about to get into the drop and it's probably going to be epic, but I really like how we pulled back the instrumentation there. It was this mixture of all these synth elements and then this almost like jazzy feeling to it. Maybe that's just the bass being really predominant there, but something that feels very analog and grounded mixed with all of these synths that are happening. It's just like a really interesting combination production wise, and the way that the vocals pulled back a little bit in terms of being a little bit in the lower part of the ranges, slower in the cadence as well, because we started off like ballad like with Jia and Gayan, and then switching into something like the instrumentation switching a little bit more into more of an epic sound, but having that ballad delivery to their vocals is really interesting. Love the vibrato there too. Ooh. Love that cry there too. Okay, a few things. One, I love the, I think it's like a string of some kind that kind of goes into the chorus. Love that we picked up the cadence, right? I was talking about how the delivery of their vocals was a little bit slower at the beginning because it was more of like a ballad delivery, and then picking up in the chorus, but having a lot of fun with the dynamics of it. Lots of interesting like vocal melodies in terms of them. I think they're using like half notes or like half steps in the progression of the notes a little bit, which adds like off kilter feeling to the song. It makes it like a little bit of a darker sound because I think it's more of a like minor Melody? I don't know a lot about music theory. I should just sit down and learn. Honestly, I had a teacher try to teach me when I was learning guitar, and I've retained very little of it. So I don't know if it's something that I could ever truly learn unless I sat down and really forced myself to take in the information. But I love having like this kind of like off-kilter delivery to their vocals that has this darker, ominous tone to it, especially with an OST. I think that adds in a lot of interest in terms of where you can use the song, right? Because if you're making an OST, you have to think about how the song can be incorporated into the work. So having something that can have those brighter sounds at certain parts, but then also these darker, more ominous parts means that you can use the song in lots of different ways to accent specific parts of the stories, right? So I really like that. Love how we had that slide up in the vocals there. I think it was Sua, at least that's what it's saying here with the lyric video. I know they're not always the best, but I think it was just like hearing it and then having that like really light falsetto from Jio. Beautiful, like having those two together. And I also love that we've had lots of this talk of like blooming and color and lack of color, and then we had like flower petals, all of this flower imagery. Obviously we have rose and blue in the title, so having those two like images throughout the entire song is really great to just like, keep that like core concept, flowers and blooming and color. And I really like the aromatic as well, like the scent that comes along with flowers and stuff like that. Really good. I like that they're like sticking on theme. Back to like lots of synths in the production. No. Ooh, okay. I love how the production really pulled back, like really just after that huge wave with the chorus and then pulling back a ton for Dami's verse there. Her having a little bit of a lower range anyway, the way that she usually delivers more of a rap is in this lower part of her voice. Love this idea of trying to erase a scent, but the more she tries to do that, it spreads. You can't really get rid of scent once it's out there. It's gonna dissipate at its own time, right? And you can really, all you can do is learn how to live with it, because a scent isn't a physical thing, right? You can't reach out and grab it and hide it away or put it somewhere else or leave it behind. It's something that just lingers and sticks to you. And we have a lot of memories associated with specific smells, right? Like you'll smell something, it'll instantly take you back to some previous time in your life, to a very specific memory that you probably have not thought about for a really long time, and then suddenly it's so vivid because you've smelled something that is associated with that moment. So I really like pulling that imagery too. I'm sorry my voice is a little bit rough. It's 6:30 in the morning. If I sound a little bit rough, that's why. So I really like having that different facets of it, right? We focus a lot on blooming of flowers at the beginning, the first verse, and then shifting a little bit more into those images of scents and more than just visual representation of flowers, but more senses being incorporated in. And I think more of an external experience of it, right? Because you can say you were blooming as a metaphor of your own experience, but getting into the physical tactile sense and senses associated with something is a little bit more external than that, right? Love that call and response kind of. I love this pre-chorus. All the vocals in the back too. Ooh. I like color my own world. she's hitting some notes there. Dang, yeah, and I know that she can, but like whenever she does it, I'm like, she's like pulling up her chest voice there, which is like adding like a much more strong, pingy sound to her voice than if she were to like go into her falsetto or her head voice, right? I also love the shift in the narrative of we had, so we're talking like finally color my own world. We had I'm the magical color that fills you. Again, it felt like this shift from my personal experience to external, right? I was talking about with the verses of the first verse felt more of let me talk about my experience in the situation, and the second verse felt more let's talk about those tactile senses and how that can relate to a more external experience or something that is a little more transferable between people as opposed to the abstract of an internal experience. And then we have the I'm falling into myself. We had the falling flower petals before, a shift in those lyrics, a little bit more autonomy, right? More focused on like how you can impact your own life and your own experiences and you don't need to rely on someone else. And I think also a little bit less romanticized. The image of falling flower petals feels more romanticizing or like fantasizing an experience than actually dealing with it. And this feels more of a let me actually focus on what's happening and where I'm at and how I have control over that experience as opposed to making it into something that it isn't. I love all the vocal slides in this. Ooh. Love the like choir vocals with the strings. This is switching back to what we had the first chorus. What a way to end. I love that instrumental part. I think that has a lot of potential in terms of storytelling too. But having the switch back to what they were talking about in the first chorus is really interesting too. It feels like this, I don't know, maybe even fall in terms of having this moment of I have my own autonomy, I have my own power over my own narrative and my life and my experience, and having something shift in that instrumental part that is going to shift the story in terms of them maybe losing that control, because we had that little part in the bridge that was remembering and still thinking that the falling flower petals were like beautiful and still keeping that memory, that there's still a part of you that is romanticizing that experience or that memory. And because of that, you can slip into the mindset of like when you're reminiscing about it to have a similar frame of mind, even though you may have moved on, there's still part of you that's coming back to the memory of it. Maybe I love the part where Gio goes into her falsetto for that rose blue part, like just like hits every time. I love that so much. I am super interested to see what we're going to do with the music video though. If it's going to be more them central to the storytelling, or if we're going to get other images incorporated in from where the OST is going to be. I don't know, but we're gonna check it out. So it looks like this is an RPG of some kind, which also makes me interested. I love a good RPG. For anyone who wants to know, I blame Final Fantasy, but just makes me more excited to see what we're gonna get in terms of storytelling. We've got a whole extra minute to the music video, so there's gotta be something going on. Okay, let's read the title. See, this is just giving me Nightmare storyline vibes. Like Fly High. Especially if we're signaling at Dio. You don't look directly at the sun, though. Ooh, okay. Futuristic, maybe? Completely different character from the start of the MV. Ooh, okay. I have a few thoughts. One, it feels like we're futuristic. So the first scene was almost like a memory, like the memory part that we've talked about a little bit, like a previous time when they were all together and happy and more carefree. And then we have the much darker coloring. Feels more of a dystopian future, or it feels almost like this grungy space, like a cyberpunk feeling to it. I'm interested in the fact that we had Gahyun. She was smiling a little bit more, seemed a little bit more at ease. Same with Yuhyun in comparison to Jio, so I don't know what that's about. I did refrain from pausing at the blackboard trying to see if there's anything in it. Okay, I'm not the only one. We have a most watched part that is also around where the blackboard is. So maybe I'm not completely ridiculous. I don't fully know what all this is, but it's a lot. There's probably something in this that I should know about. But also it feels a little bit ominous with Jio walking. She feels a little bit intimidating, and I don't know what that means. We have multiple clocks. So whoa. Yeah, like look at her face, her eyes. She seems very empty, right? There is this emptiness, almost like single-mindedness to her actions that makes me a little bit worried, especially since she's the only one who wasn't, I don't know, asleep, knocked out. I feel like it's something connected to the crystal. Maybe it is where they're living out different experiences, because we had them separated in their own motifs. We saw Xian there with like all the screens behind her. I don't know what was going on with Sua's other than, look, I understand she's chained up, probably restrained in some way. Maybe that is because she is more of a threat than some of the other ones, but it is quite an image, okay? And it makes me think of I know that this isn't storyline stuff, okay, I get it, but in Justice, the MV for that, we had Ju who had the chains. I'm just saying. But interesting to have connected to the crystal, right? At the center. I'm assuming some of this has to do with the story of the video game, also the mechanics of it. So I am going to miss some of it because I don't know the video game. But I feel like the crystal is associated with memory, or almost like projecting their consciousness in some way, because none of them in their own little like motifs that they're in are in this like abandoned city like Ju is. And now she's like inside of them. Like inside of the different motifs that they're living out. So I'm assuming the crystal has to do with that. No, ma'am. My heart rate just spiked a little bit. Oh, I don't like seeing her with that facial expression. Dang, they're two different eye colors. They all have a different color palette too. Ooh, okay. Interesting to have one that has showed up in all of their own little scenes, but we have a different reactions, right? We have this, I feel like Yuhyun was like slightly worried about what was happening. There's some apathy from Xian and Dami. Dami seems a little bit challenging, but Sua seems like the one who is really fighting back. She seems to be the one who is legitimately trying to get out of the restraints and go up against Jio, even though no one else seems to be responding to the threat very much of what's happening here. And Gahyun's the only one who actually reached out, which I think is interesting, because I was saying before about how she seemed to smile more and have a little bit more of an at-ease attitude. So maybe she still trusts you a little bit more than the rest of them do. The others are hoping that she will not harm them or will go back to the person that she was at the first clip in the MV. But Gayen seems to be like way more maybe trusting and assuming that she's going to not hurt them, where Sua is legitimately trying to break out, get to her in some way. There's more desperation in Sua. Kami looks unimpressed. See, like, she's even smiling there. Like, she just trusts that she won't do that? Well, now this feels more ominous. Oh, her smile, though. Oh, we have Gayen reaching out her hand again. The petals too, we've talked about like falling flower petals. Almost like the memory is like tainted after what she's done. It's the most expressive she's been since the shift. Ma'am? Oof. We all woke up. Oh, so she couldn't get out of being stuck in her head, I guess? Nice. Incorporating the Dreamcatcher in there. Ooh, interesting too. Dreamcatcher, obviously, there to catch dreams, a lot of the time nightmares, unpleasant dreams, at least in my limited understanding of them. So having that associated with the concept, the story here of being stuck in this mental liminal space, and it seems like since Jio couldn't get out of it because her gun was like at 0, so she used up what she had to maybe get the other girls out. I was like, oh, maybe she's gone evil a little bit. And I'm like, oh no, because we had this very empty expression of very single-mindedness to her actions, the way that she was behaving. But maybe it was because she knew that this was what she was going to do, and it was still going to be awful, and it was going to be like a terrible experience, but then also she can't get out now. And maybe she doesn't know that they're okay because she seemed pretty distraught, but she can't get out now. She doesn't know that they're fine. Again, I assume that this is mostly explained in the video game, and I won't know because I haven't played it. I could play it, but I haven't. I'm assuming it is more wrapped up in that storyline. But I love when the story is just really intriguing. I'm like in for it. But I also love that in all of their individual scenes, they all have like different color scheme with them. I just think that makes a very aesthetic, it adds this variety without having to do anything super complex with the staging of it, because you can just tell who's associated with each section just by the color palette that's being chosen. And you can have certain pops of color, like with Yuyen, she had the orange accents that really popped with the more blue background and coloring to her scene, which is really cool. I love that song. I think that it had a lot of really good dynamics in it that you could incorporate into an OST. I feel like OSTs are just like a different beast when it comes to making a song, because you really have to think about not only how do we express the main story of whatever the OST is associated with, but a lot of the time when you have something like this where it's a collaboration with a specific group or band, you need to have a song that has a lot of different dynamic points in it so that you can use those snippets of the music to associate to lots of different parts in the story, right? So you need a lot of different tonality in terms of things that are more a ballad, things that are more upbeat energy, things that are bright and optimistic versus more ominous and off-putting, right? Like you need to have all of those different dynamics in it so that you can use lots of different parts of the story to associate to that song, especially promotional stuff, right? I really like getting songs that just have like all of this rich storytelling in terms of the production and the vocal melodies, because you have to have all that different tonality in it to tell the stories. But I also really like the music video. I like that they told a whole story with it, that it was them for the whole thing and that they had a whole storyline being told in it. I like getting to see some of the acting and stuff in it, and I love how some of them are showing different stories. Like I could tell different things about how they were going to be upcoming parts of the story just by the facial expressions that they were choosing, right? right? I clocked Gahyun like right at the beginning. I'm like, oh, she's smiling more. That has to mean something different compared to the other people that we've seen so far. And it did. She has a different role in the story. Even just having those slight different facial expressions, being able to portray what is going to be happening later on, and the continuity of having Gahyun be like this almost like bridge between the group and Dio, and that optimism and hope of her rejoining the group and stuff like that. I really like getting to see those little acting things that they're doing throughout it and the storytelling that they had in it as well. I had a lot of fun with that. I don't know what the game is. I don't know what the story is associated with the game. I'm assuming that the music video was portraying some of that story in some way, but I had a lot of fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click this place to go see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to this next time I post a Dreamcatcher reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.